Watch what happens when I tell my AI agents to improve itself. One command. That's all it takes. It's scanning the current conversation I've had with the assistant, and every correction I made, every preference it picked up, every mistake it repeated, all goes into its context. And now it's rewriting its instructions based on what it learned. I run about 10 AI agents, and this one command makes all of them better. Let me show you how. So my assistants aren't blank slates. I'm not like starting off with like vanilla Claude chat with nothing in there. My assistants are in repositories. They have config files, the skills, the workflows baked in there. So they basically already know how I like things done. But the thing is, just like any process that you leave and you don't maintain, they can get stale and they will get stale. So for me personally, I run around 10 of these assistants for different kinds of work. So one assistant for making content, one for product management work, and I also even have one for helping manage my software development agency. So they're all like different workflows. And the thing is, I do improve them, but I only improve them when I remember to. And I only make the improvements that I remember to. So maybe after a long session where I corrected the tone like 5 times, then maybe I'd update the assistant. But most days, honestly, I just move on because there's too many things to do. And the thing is, I know that there's gold in those conversations. I gave helpful feedback so that it can give me the output that I wanted. So for sure, there's corrections I made maybe 3 sessions ago that's just gone now because I forgot about it. They're gone in my head, but you know where they're still at? They're in the logs. They're sitting right there. Now, if you multiply that across 10 assistants, then multiple conversations per assistant, all doing different tasks, then there's really no way to keep track of all of that. And then the valuable feedback kind of piles up and it's all going to waste. I couldn't help it. Like, I couldn't help that feedback that I was giving wasn't really going into improving my assistants. So I decided to build something. I built a /improve command. So I run it and it reviews every recent conversation that I've had with the specific assistant and then suggests changes to the assistant's own instructions. Let me show you how it works. So this is my content machine assistant. So it helps me research, write content, and also like do visual aids for this written content, right? So I've had a very long conversation with it recently. As you can see, it's 250,000 tokens. Now, what I can simply do is type /improve. So right now, it's scanning my last 5 sessions and pulling out every correction, every piece of phrase, every friction point, basically all of the feedback. So now it ran for around 2 minutes. And as you can see, it says the current conversational analysis was that this was a substantial session and it captured all of my corrections. Like, I don't want it to get into the numbers that much. Instead of saying no code, maybe we can say built using plain English. It also detected praise that I gave it and even friction points. And it also took note of techniques that worked. And now, it found an additional 7 findings across 4 categories and is presenting them to me one at a time. So let's see what it says here. Yeah, so it gave a feedback about scheduling, and I agree, so I'll just accept. For finding 2, also about scheduling, like filling in empty gaps before scheduling on future days, so I'll accept that as well. So it's going to go ahead and think again. Now it's saying that the thread writer doesn't default to artistic images for the hooks, and I do want it to work that way, so I'll accept. Another thing with the publisher, I'll accept that again. And yeah, during this session, I told it that I've been paying for Claude since July 2024. So it's proposing to create a memory file so that it can remember that for future conversations. So I click accept. Now it's writing the plan file and then it's gonna present the plan file to me. And once I accept that, then it's gonna go ahead and implement the improvements. So here's the plan. I allow it. Okay, so now it applied 6 changes to the different skills, created a memory, and updated multiple skills basically. But while it was applying things, it found additional improvements that we can do. So now it's presenting them to me again one by one. So yeah, I would accept that, then submit. So now it's applying the findings again. Okay, so now it's finished doing the 8 improvements and applying them to my skill files, adding things to memory, updating memory, and so on. So that's how the improved skill works in action. Got findings from the past couple of days and in this current conversation, and it improved this assistant. All I had to do was accept or reject findings or provide it like additional context. In this case, I didn't even have to provide it additional context. It worked perfectly here, which is nice because I'm shooting, so it's always helpful. Think about the best person that you've ever worked with. It's really not the smartest guy on day one. It's the one who learns the fastest. So they pick up how you like things done, and then they remembered what worked last time, and then they stop making those mistakes. And that's what separates good teammates or employees from great ones. And I really do believe that agents should work the same way. The ones that are truly helpful are the ones that get better over time, and this improved skill will help out a lot with that. So to give you a better idea of how this thing works, it first does discovery, so it maps every config file in your project, and then it does a history scan. So it reads the last 5 sessions that you had with that specific assistant. So that's why it's best to run this every few days or at least once a week. And then from there, it does a live analysis. So it scans the current conversation again for 9 signal types, which we'll get into later. But you already saw some of those signal types earlier, like corrections, praise, friction, capability gaps, etc. And then it checks if the existing rules are being followed or if it was followed in the past conversations, and then it flags contradictions or instances where the rules were broken. And then it presents the findings one by one. You saw this during the demo as well. And then it applies the changes to the configuration. So it updates the skill, it creates new ones, or it creates memory entries, and so on. Now, for the 9 signal types I mentioned, I asked it to look for corrections, for praise, friction, capability gaps, behavioral patterns. If you give it specific pieces of feedback, then it would also focus in on that. Like, for example, you can do /improve and say that I really liked how we were able to come up with the style and tone of your writing after doing back and forth in this conversation. So please take a look into that. And the skill would automatically hone in on that as well. And it also has repeated workflows and techniques discovered. So repeated workflows is super cool because I noticed that there was this one time where I was constantly asking it to create informational images instead of artistic images for this assistant. And I did that for the past 3 conversations, but I really didn't give it much thought, right? And it said hey, you asked for informational images that I create in HTML for the past 3 days. Do you just want to turn that into a skill? And I'm like, hell yeah, I want to turn that into a skill. And it did. And now it's part of my workflow. So that's great. So yeah, this is how you create a self-improving AI agent, because you have your sessions and all of the important data is in those sessions. And then once you run the improve skill, then it detects the different signals that we just ran through, right? The 9 types of feedback and improvement points. And then it updates the config. So it updates your skills, your Claude MD, creates new memories. And then as a result, you have better sessions because of that. But of course, as you use your assistant over time, you're going to start to build up additional signals here. So then the flywheel just repeats. So your assistant is just going to be improving and working the way you want the more you use it, which is absolutely beautiful in my opinion. And as promised, This skill is now available on GitHub. You can see it in the description below. So all you have to do is clone the repo and then add it to your commands directory, and then you can run it in any project. Heck, you can even just feed the URL to Claude and then it will install it for you. So very, very simple. And this is what the skill looks like. It's basically just a plain markdown file with like the different steps and instructions. So all of that is also here in this GitHub repo. So yeah, full skills on GitHub. Link is in the description. Grab it, use it as is, or you can evolve it for your own workflow. It's especially useful if you're running non-coding assistants like me, because it works on any agent with skills and config files to improve. So this is really what I think the future of AI assistants look like. Not waiting for the next model update, but actually improving your own assistants the way that you want them to work, based on how you also personally work. And if you want to build the kind of agents that /improve works on best, then I made a full tutorial of how I build these non-coding agents step by step. Link is here. Check it out. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.